He leads us all the way, playing proper football, the Sheff United way. Ale, ale, ale. Ale, ale, ale. Ale, ale, ale.
Oh, dearie me. Boxing Day. Ruined. I'm not actually very happy about that performance. I thought it was not great. But it's important. It's very important not to overreact. It is just one defeat. And, you know, Burnley, clearly not a bad side. I thought interesting lineup for United. No Raksaki in the squad. Why? I don't know. Maybe just rested. Maybe Wilder thought this is the kind of game where we need someone who can actually do something a bit different. He's also been out of form recently, but he wasn't even in the squad. So I thought that was a bit strange, because even if you think I need someone a bit more defensive, or I need someone who's going to trap back or whatever, have him on the bench as an option. Unless he was injured, who knows? We had already heard that Raksaki is remaining at Sheffield United for the entirety of the season. Will that still be the case? I would have thought so. In the squad, he replaced him. Brewster came in, and as predicted on the match preview, watch the previews for goodness sake, Anel was not in the starting lineup. I got a little bit of stick for that because, of course, Wilder had said he would be back. I didn't think he would make the starting lineup, and he didn't. Also, I said that Tom Davies would be on the bench, and that was the case as well. Great to see Vinny Souza back in the starting lineup, not necessarily, Vinny Souza's most incredible performance. No one had their most incredible performance. Cooper in goal, Gilchrist, Burrows, Harry Suter, Robinson captain, Souza, Peck, O'Hare, Harmer, Brewster, Moore. No Reece Norrington-Davies in the squad. That was also interesting. I mean, poor lad, since he's been injured, he was a mainstay. He was a first choice, right? As you know. And then he got injured. And he's just struggled to get back involved in the manner that he was involved before. He was almost indispensable at one point. Now he's looking very much dispensable. And top of the table, Blades face the third place Burnley. Helmi El Touki and Stephen Rosen, the new owners of Sheffield United, were welcomed to the Bramall Lane faithful. A great attendance despite horrible conditions with the fog, with the rain. And we saw Burnley start in a 4-2-3-1 formation, unchanged from their win against Watford. And I think they have hit upon the recipe. This starting 11 for Burnley clearly works for them. Trafford, Roberts, Humphreys, I thought was very good. Laurent, who's got some tidy touches and turns. Egan Riley, Esteve, Brownhill, Anthony, Cullen, Hannibal, and Zian Fleming, the Millwall loanee, up top. So the Blades began the first half kicking towards the Bramall Lane end on a pitch that looked a little bit chewed up. And Rhian Brewster, I was trying to see, was he playing as like a 10? Was he playing on the right? Well, he was moving around a lot. Without the ball, he was definitely further forward through the middle. Sometimes with the ball, he would pop up on the right. But is the sort of previously so much injured Rhian Brewster a bit like, when Michael Owen did his hammy, he was never quite the same with that burst of pace. A young Rhian Brewster was reliant on that. Is the new Rhian Brewster going to be more effective in a midfield role, a sort of a 10, an attacking midfielder just behind a striker? Early on, I thought he was linking up the play quite nicely. Some nice touches, showing some good movement. Overall, I don't think Rhian Brewster did enough to suggest that he is the answer in that position. Number 24 for Burnley, Josh Cullen on 20, got his fifth booking of the season after a foul on Brewster in our own half. And Cullen knew he'd have to tread carefully and wasn't as involved in terms of getting stuck in after that. Peck, I thought, put himself about well, as he did in the previous match. Sometimes he's a little wasteful with the ball. He can be quick to pass it to another player, and sometimes I'd like him to just keep hold of it. Gus Harmer caught Anthony on 36, and Burnley weren't happy as they were trying to counter-attack. Scott Parker and Josh Brownhill got involved, and Gus was given a yellow, a silly yellow, another silly yellow for Harmer. Referee Oliver Langford giving that. What do you think of the referee's performance? I talked about Oliver Langford on the preview. I wasn't overly impressed today. I felt like if you had a red and white shirt on, he was going to give anything when you breathed on a player. And for a claret shirt, you needed to do quite a bit more. But maybe that's just me with rose-tinted glasses. Burnley put together some good passing spells, but in the first half, up until sort of the 41st minute, no real threat. Same from United, although we were having a lot more first half possession. But I made a note, by 41 minutes, no shots on target from either side. Harmer had a sighter at Trafford on 41, but that was just catching practice. And then the goal. And the thing about this game was you felt like it was either going to be a mistake, a great goal, or like a penalty, whatever, that was going to break the deadlock. And I also felt like the first goal was going to be crucial. Whoever got it was going to win this game. Unfortunately, on 43, the goal came for Burnley. A diving header at the far stick from the skipper, Josh Brownhill, whose brother is in the armed forces, by the way. Not that that's relevant. And it was his 9th of the campaign. I know. And they finally broke the deadlock after a cross from the left by Humphreys. It wasn't in keeping with the game at that point. And remember, we hadn't conceded at home since that QPR game, the first home match of the season. We have to go all the way back to that 2-2 draw. And we were 2-0 up in that one. And, at home after that, kind of won all the games since then. What was it, our last 9? Burrows, I thought, left his man free. Gilchrist wasn't close enough to his winger for the cross. Burnley had the lead with their first real chance of the game. And the thing about Burnley is they had never had successive wins at Bramall Lane until now. And it really was just so frustrating to see that goal, for them, it was perfect. They could just sit back and hit us on the break after that. We were going to have to take the game to Burnley, and we didn't. And, we've been poor in first halves a few times this season. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not let our league position disguise the fact that some games we haven't been in it for 90. This season, I do feel could be still a really successful season, a promotion season, but it could be a bit like some of the games under Hecky when we got promotion, where we played poor except for like bursts. Some of the Hecky games were like good for 20 minutes, but not so hot for the rest, and just like a flash of brilliance, often from Illyman and Dye, would be enough. We don't have an Illyman this season, and perhaps we've relied, and I said this on our previous match actually, the Cardiff game, non-repeatable actions, wonder goals, great moments, Hollywood passes. First half, we were definitely lacking that bit of quality in the final third, and we still have a tendency to give the ball away in dangerous areas, which is really frustrating. We've been unbalanced in terms of our attacking play for some parts of the season, and that was obviously going to be the case in the summer because we had so much change. This is an almost entirely new squad, and we have to remember that. We have to put everything into context, which is why I think we should not overreact. We've just been good enough throughout the season in terms of individual talent to compensate for some areas where we are still lacking. And I really do think up top, final third is an area that needs improvement. Perhaps January, we can do that. Half-time, we were a goal down. And all those things I said about the first half continued into the second. Tom Davis, who I really like as a midfielder, came on at the break for the ineffective Vinny Souza. One had to assume that was either game management, after he's been out for a while, or a knock that he maybe picked up in the first half. I don't know. It's rare that Chris Wilder makes a half-time change unless it is injury-related. United started the second, I thought, a little bit better, but we never really looked like scoring. And I could say that through the whole game. Could play till New Year's Day and it felt like we weren't going to score. And Burnley did score. Gilchrist went in the book on 52, fouling Hannibal on the edge of the D. Hannibal, I thought, made a bit of a meal of it, but yeah, probably was a free kick. The free kick was taken by Fleming. It hit the wall and the rebound fell to Fleming, who smashed it on the volley, and it ended up in the top corner. I think fair enough, it was a sweet connection, that second volley, although it took a deflection, and Burnley had a 2-goal lead. Might have hit Peck, might have hit Cullen, so Cullen's goal probably, but who really cares? And, big goals, and they were either side of the break. It's the best and worst time. It's the worst time to concede, best time to score. The bench, I looked at it, not looking strong. Not like we had loads of options and ideas. And although the pace increased from United, some urgency in the second, we looked at the final third, void of ideas. We weren't really laying a glove on the Clarets. Gilchrist, not his best game, went off on 72, and Nell came back to the fold, and we went to a back 3, but it didn't yield results. Brooks also returned to the action. I've been saying for a while, I'd like to see more of Brooks. Wilder has stated that he hasn't been training well enough. Who knows? I certainly don't. He came on for Brewster, who after a decent start was poor. I mean, that pass through the middle. Do you remember that pass through the middle from Brewster, looking for maybe O'Hare, looking maybe for more? I don't know. It's such an offline pass. You couldn't even tell. But we had a break on, and it annoyed me so much. I genuinely don't think Rhian Brewster gets a new deal unless he performs really well for the rest of the season. One and McCallum, whose hairstyle changes each match, came on 82 for O'Hare and Burrows, respectively. Burrows not his usual self today. I think Harrison Burrows has been one of our standout players of the season, but not today. A lot of players were off it today. John Egan came back to Bramall Lane, got the ovation he deserved on 86 when he entered the field after, of course, 224 appearances over 2 spells for United. And thanks to his song, we have the name of this very YouTube channel and podcast. Now, the worst moment of the game for me, because you can lose matches, and that's just football, but Suter went down on 88. Someone with his ACL history going down like that, very, very concerning. Okay, we don't know what the injury is yet. We can hope that it's something not serious. Could have been his ankle, could have been his hamstring, which could, of course, be serious, but probably his knee, possibly twisted. He couldn't put any weight on that leg, and United were down to 10 men. And, a bad Boxing Day got worse. It could have been even worse. Cooper made a great save from Anthony on 90, but United were all at sea as Anthony outpaced McCallum. If he's trying to out-jump McCallum, you won't do it, but outpacing, it looked easy. Referee added 4 minutes on, and the agony had to continue in a thoroughly underwhelming, it was not enjoyable performance. A statement win, you could argue, for the away side Burnley. And I mean, away from home in the Championship, in a promotion race, we seem to be, apart from that game where we were I think we were 2-1 down at half-time against Burnley a couple of years ago and ended up putting 5 past them. That was under Vincent Kompany, but they used to come out under Kompany and leave gaps in the back. They didn't look like that way today. United not clinical with that final pass or any real attacking intent in the final third. Won't have impressed the new owners. Full-time, Blades 0, Burnley 2. A first loss at the Lane this season for United in the league. We need a striker or two in January. We've got new owners. Do they have cash? We find out very soon. And, we're missing Tyrese Campbell. I said after his injury that I thought that looked like maybe 2 months. Who knows? It looked bad. He was grabbing his hammy. I know Wilder said it was his back. Looks like his hammy. You never know with Wilder. Sometimes he says players are back when they're not, back when they are, etc. Campbell, who's previously been our threat and probably still a few weeks away, is a huge miss. Burnley had only won at the Lane 7 times previously in their entire history, and they hadn't won on Boxing Day for 14 years. The last time they did was against another Yorkshire team in Barnsley. What did you make of Burnley? Are they actually a good side? Because I thought first half, until they scored, we were the better team. But maybe I'm wrong. Sunday, I think, becomes a bigger game now. And on a side note, I feel the January transfer window makes or breaks our season. I really do think it's that important. Let's go to your general comments on the game as we commiserate together, because I think that's what we are doing at the moment. I haven't read any of these before. I never do, by the way. I just bring them up on screen and read them, so you can say absolutely whatever you like, and you can insult me like a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans have been doing over the past couple of days. 'Tis the season. God, I hate them. Good to see Vinny back. Yeah, absolutely. Just watching their warm-up. To be honest, United are looking more structured and focused. Obviously, Anthony wrote that early on in the game. Love the Blades, but Brewster is terrible. 100% not a footballer, says Peter. It's like we're trying with 10 men. He's so slow getting back to help Gilchrist, who had 2 men to cover for the goal. I do think that side, the right-hand side for us today, was almost totally ineffectual and really poor. And Wilder did this with Leeds, away at Leeds. He changed the things up that had been working, changed the formation. Don't know why. We changed things today. Didn't make sense to me. Forgetful game again and only 3 shots on target. Kick on to the next game, Blades, and hope no injuries after this. Yeah, the injuries for me, that's the key. We're down to the bare bones in many respects. I do think the first 11 for Sheffield United is really good, but the squad, is it strong enough or is it a bit thin in some key areas? We do, Donna says, need Campbell back and another striker in Jan. Moore is not hopeless, Donna. I think we can only go back as recently as the last away game to see that Moore is not hopeless. Look, I said it when we were linked with Moore. He's not necessarily my kind of striker, but I do think you need a key for Moore. But I've been saying this since the start of the season, and I haven't let the fact that we've been doing well detract from this. I think Moore is better in a 2. I think he works really well linking up with someone. Now, the way Brewster was playing today is not Moore with a 2. Brewster was everywhere except where he needed to be, unless his instructions were drop back, stay further back, float around, almost like a free roll. I don't know why you would do that with Real Brewster, but that's certainly what it seemed like, because he definitely wasn't up there beyond Moore for large parts of the game. David says, outfoxed, outmaneuvered, outplayed by a better team. King for a day, great name. A bit too rubbish today. Can you be a bit rubbish? I don't know. You're either rubbish or not. Shocking. Referee was a mess as well, Danoramics. Yeah, I really do think the referee had a very, very poor game today. I will tweet that later. Terrible. Waiting on every through pass attempted, says Aaron Long. The passing was way offline today. Justin says, very poor all round. The stretched squad was always going to get caught out by a better team. Burnley's midfield outclassed ours and controlled the game. On to West Brom. It does become this next few games really, really big. We've got some massive fixtures coming up. It's a horrible time if you've got injuries, because they do come Ollie Burke thick and fast. Stretch squad found out by a better team, says Darren. Bit of a reality check maybe, and still in a great position. Yeah, we are still in a great position. I saw some people online saying it's now a case of Leeds and Burnley. It's there and we'll be in the playoffs. I don't believe that. It's really, really crucial that we don't overreact after this. All right, there's loads of mitigating factors why you can sometimes lose a game at home. And I do think the first goal would have changed everything if we'd got it first. Jimmy says, first goal always key. There you go. Jimmy agrees. Good move by Burnley, but poor out on our right and poor at the back post. Couldn't agree more. Set off better second half, yes, and came unstuck with the deflection. Best hope Suits is okay. I really do hope Harry Suter is okay. Because worst case scenario, that's the last time we see Harry Suter play for Sheffield United. And the last time I want to see Harry Suter play for Sheffield United is not in that game. Can't remember a shot. I can't, and I was making notes. Big signings needed in January, says Michael. I hope the new owners have plenty of funds available. I've no idea if they do. I mean, people have said they do, but I don't know. It was a letdown, Brian. Often they are when the big crowds turn up. Suter, another injury blow, and looks like a hamstring, Michael thinks. I'm not sure. Absolutely abysmal showing, says Chris. We have valid excuses, we do, but you still need to turn up and try and lay a glove on them. I think the way the double pivot is set up is too restrictive, especially when you have Harmer out wide. Not to say he doesn't create or play well out there, but I feel he doesn't influence the match as much. I've been saying this for a while. I do think an out-and-out left winger, or, as Wilder seems to like this season, a right-footed left winger, but a proper one, allowing Harmer to play in the middle. I just think he's so strong. I'm not saying Callum O'Hare isn't, but I think there's a world where you can get Harmer in the middle and still play Callum O'Hare. Some unkind comments for Brewster. Look, Brewster's probably going to leave at the end of the season, and he'd probably go for nothing. I think his contract's up. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if that's the case, we will look back on the Ryan Brewster signing, and we can judge it then. But the season isn't over yet, and he might have an incredible run to the end of the season. The Ryan Brewster that scored 10 in 20 for Swansea is clearly still that same person. Clearly a lot of potential for that young man. The injuries really have dented any hope we had of seeing the best of Ryan Brewster. I thought we played okay second half. 2 annoying goals to give away. We just don't create enough. It's true. And today we didn't create any real chances. You could have had from The Great Escape, Stallone in goal, and or anyone on a deck chair, and they really wouldn't have had anything to do. There was just 3 decent-ish chances, but nothing where I thought it's out of your seat excitement time. Burnley can boast that they are the only team to have beaten Leeds and Sheffield United away, and the first team to score past Michael Cooper at the Lane. Michael, you are absolutely correct. Those 2 goals that we conceded against QPR was not when Coops was in goal. I believe his first game was Norwich away, where he did actually concede, but of course we're talking about home games here. Yeah, I mean, Hamer as well, another silly booking. I think he's only 1 yellow away from a 2-game ban. Face it, Blades, it's been coming. If anything, the new owners will now know that we are good with a small G, but need another 25 to 30 million pounds spent on us to get the title. Burrows and Gilchrist were poor. Burrows and Gilchrist were poor, but Burrows, particularly this season, has been very good. Gilchrist, I'm not sure about. I really think Gilchrist is a centre-back being forced to play as a right-back. And it's a shame that Sariki's been injured when he has, because I thought he was really stepping up his game and was making it a serious competition out there. Peck, ineffective, and we lacked bite. The ref was awful. I do think that's true. Brewster should have played out wide with Hamer or O'Hare in the middle. I need to decide how I'm going to say Gus's surname. I might just call him Gustavo. Alessandro Moore was rubbish, and we didn't create anything at all. Rubbish defending for the first, and a lucky deflection for the second. Big January needed, because against these sides, we've been naff. Alessandro, who I've met, by the way, lovely lad. I think I met you at QPR away. Naff, I'm very pleased I was going to say that you used that word, family channel. Simon, who's an absolute legend and a massive supporter of the Sheffield United way. Abysmal is probably a fair word. Incredibly disappointing showing today. Let's hope we only have a Burnley problem, which we do have at the moment, and nothing more. Because since we beat them and put those 5 past them, they've beaten us. I think I'm right in saying that every time. Brewster should have played on the right wing. Yep, I think I read that one out before, or you put it twice. Who can say? Our club motto should be can't win when it matters most. Chris, it's so true. It's so true. Your Wembley appearances, your Millennium Stadium appearances, the big playoff finals, the cup semi-finals, any massive game in the league where loads of people turn up. My dad, God rest his soul, always used to say, if we had an exceedingly large crowd, he knew before the match we weren't going to win. I wish it wasn't true. And it's not true, of course. It's just the way we think about it. Because when you do win and there's a big crowd, you just go home and you think, great, that was wonderful. You don't think, we won with a big crowd. And of course, we often have big crowds. We're the biggest team in the city. Defending or lack thereof on the first was reminiscent of last year. Yes, it absolutely was. It really was poor, the first goal. Game of first goal winner, absolutely Wayne. They got it, and the second goal was a freak. Yeah, I mean, Cooper could do nothing about the second. I was actually listening to Burnley commentary for the first goal, and they said Cooper was at fault. Bring yourself down to 10 men. Yeah, absolutely, we were. And it wasn't easy with 10. I think the only way to beat these top teams is to go long, says Wayne. We still try tippy-toe stuff to get through the best defenses. Doesn't work. We were looking for the Hollywood pass. You're absolutely right, Wayne. And maybe you do need to mix it up against sides that are going to play a bit of football, because that's what they don't want. And balls over the top could have caused problems. But Kiefer Moore, if you do play balls over the top, to a player like Kiefer Moore, what can he do with it if there's no one around him? Yeah, Brewster playing deep. O'Hare today in out wide right sometimes. You got Harmer on the other flank who constantly comes inside. Unless they're all on the same wavelength, he's flicking it onto absolutely nobody because he doesn't have that runner alongside him. A player that is nippy and will read that and know that that's the way we're going to play, because he probably got to make that decision early on rather than in game. I mean, we didn't create anything, but why not give a chance to Marsh, yes, and Blacker instead of McCallum and Anel? I thought this was a game for Marsh. I know One's flavour of the month at the moment and has done really well, but I thought Marsh, this was more for him because we'd already got a big man up there. Maybe it probably wouldn't make any difference. I don't think Marsh is going to score 3 and run it past 8 men. But nevertheless, I don't think this was a game for One. Worst thing today was not the result, but Vinny and Suter out long term is a disaster. Now, we don't know that, Wayne. We don't know. But, tell us what you really think about Rian Howell. Oh, man. No. Suter going down is another O'Connell worry. Let's not jump. Everybody, it's Christmas. For the love of all that is festive and holy. There's the tree. Maybe a good thing as the new owners saw we need big money to bolster the squad. I think the new owners will have actually been a little bit shocked today because the last game they came to was the Sheffield Derby, and they'll have seen wonderful atmosphere and Blades playing really well in a game that we dominated. Wednesday never really looked like scoring Wednesday enough. But today, they'll have been thinking, ooh, what have we got ourselves into? Because there was no excitement. If you were focusing, I don't know how much they know about football, but if they don't know football, they'll have been thinking, well, this was boring. Sheffield United, I hope they call us Sheffield United. They might just call us Sheffield. Never looked like scoring, and if you're new to the game, you might just be looking at that. Then again, they might have a fantastic knowledge of the beautiful game. Chris says 2 strikers, 2 wingers, a central midfielder. Then it depends on Suter's injury today, but I think we're okay defensively. Depends. Went to 3 at the back, didn't we, in game today? And if we're going to do that often, we're going to need more defenders. I would like to see a defensive midfielder. Tyler Morton is the one that we're being heavily linked with. Hamza Chowdhury. Could he be someone that we get on loan just to get us over the line while Ollie Arblaster's out? If Sousa's out for a little bit, who knows? I'm sure he's not. I'm sure it was game management today. But the Suter one, that's huge. That's huge because Suter, he's the kind of, imagine how much he would cost as well to actually buy. Think how much he cost Leicester to buy. You can't go out and get a Harry Suter. Although I will say I expected him to score a lot of goals from set pieces and he hasn't done that. So he wouldn't be losing, that element of his game. Scott says, I'm going to sound odd, but this result probably came at the right time. Our lack of depth and injury issues shows the new owners need to back Wilder. Okay, I'll counter that, Scott, and say we've got game after game after game and then a little break. And it depends if you put any stock in the cup. Because I'd imagine we're going to play a slightly weakened side in the cup. We could have a little break then. That is the time I would like. I would like to have won this game and maybe lose the one just before the January transfer window, or when just before it's completely over. I don't know about this one. This was such a big one because they were third as well. You don't want to lose ground to any teams that are chasing top spot. Yes, the urgency of the transfer window is up there now. Let's hope for some impactful signings to address some obvious deficiencies. We play better with fast forwards, not Kiefer. I do agree we play well with, but you can play well with Kiefer and a fast forward. He isn't fast enough to get onto through balls, not saying get rid, but we need 2 forwards per game. Can I say something controversial, which I've said privately to Nick? I think Kiefer's an away day striker. I don't know if he's the way we play at home and the way we try the Hollywood pass and the tippy-tappy and the try and score the perfect goal. I think Kiefer is far, far better with our style and the way we set up away. And I might be wrong. Up the Mighty Claret says, Robbie MacArthur, always welcome opposition fans in here because it helps with the views. And seeing as no one these days ever gives us any money, the best way we can do it is just to get views. I remember when I started doing this channel, people used to give us donations on here. Absolutely nothing at all. Brewster has to go. Checkbook will be busy, we hope. Yeah, we're not going to get any money for Brewster. I mean, I've seen people online today saying sell Brewster. No one would buy Ryan Brewster. And I don't mean that disparagingly because I don't think he's very good. I do think he's good. As I say, I think there's potential for a really good striker there. No one's going to buy Ryan Brewster because he's been out of form for so long and his terrible injury proneness. So you're probably just going to lose him when his contract runs out and look back at £23.5 million and say, well, that isn't the kind of money that Sheffield United can afford to spend when it doesn't work. Because we could have bought the signings we kind of make under Wilder, we could have bought 6 players for that kind of money that would all be useful. Yes, more needs a striker alongside him. Simple as. I'm glad that Chris and I are in agreement. Their second goal was the jammiest goal I've ever seen, says Cliff. I think if you see it again, yes, it was incredibly jammy because it hits the wall and it bounces back to the striker. Like, that's jammy. But the volley, he connects very, very tidy with that. I didn't know Fleming was that technically gifted. When I saw him play for Millwall, I thought it was a bit of a handful. But the way he hit that, it was sweet as a nut, sharp as a tack, took a deflection, and he went into the back of the net. Burnley getting gooderer and betterer. Michael, I'm dyslexic. Please make it easy for me. Hannibal took a cynical dive, which resulted in their first goal, says Portland Oregon played. Yeah, I mean, I said he went down easy. Ref's always going to give that. Always. Even VAR wouldn't overturn that. Ipswich Town recruited more in January 2024 on loan and got the best out of him by constantly feeding him with crosses into the box, with Burns, Chaplin, Broadhead providing support to him. Michael, he did well, didn't he? Ipswich scored more goals in the games he played for them than he has for us. Don't know actually how he played at Ipswich. I just saw the stats, but I'll take your word for it. If Leeds United fail to win away at Stoke later this evening, the Blades will still be top. So as you were, with a different team in second. This is why I keep saying we've got to be really careful. We don't overreact to a defeat at home. Let's remember that, the first defeat at home this season. Sunderland failed to take advantage, but conceding a last-minute leveller away at Blackburn. I actually haven't looked at any scores for anyone else in the Championship. Only one reason you lost today, says Firewolf. Professionalism. Sheff United were enjoying Christmas dinner while Burnley were training. That is absolutely horse S. You have no idea what the professional players were doing yesterday. You've just made that up. That is a lie. Steve-O, 100% Blade. Good name. Our horseshoe attack, down one wing, get closed off, go across midfield, go down other wing. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, the horseshoe. Yeah. We played the tippy toe stuff because Moore is always marked by 2 players. Yes, if you're a lone striker, absolutely. If I was Scott Parker, I'd say, mark him out of the game. They've got Ryan Brewster. 2 players. So it's never an option for the killer cross. Look at the goal versus Cardiff. We can't expect more to have that magic touch. Yeah, again, non-repeatable actions. It's wonder goals which you cannot rely upon. We have nothing up front. Can the Blades appeal against the 2-point deduction? Interesting, Michael. Can we? Under new ownership, can we? I mean, short answer, probably not. But it says Forest and Everton both appealed against their point deduction and had their point deduction FFP reduced. Leicester, admittedly, guilty over FFP and won on appeal. I don't think we would, but you could argue that it was transgressions of a previous owner. I don't actually think it was a transgression of a previous owner. I think the 2-point deduction came because we were promised money from Dozy and Bosey. I think I've got this right. And then that was never coming because Crook, not my words. I mean, they did just say them, but they were said by others before. He's being investigated. Don't sue me. So I think the money was promised there. So we spent money that we thought was coming. And then, of course, turned out he didn't have that money. So technically, someone who was never the owner was at fault there. Tyler Morton and Ben Brereton Diaz, your sources are on the same page as mine. I have no sources, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about. Suter, good footballer for a giant. Exactly how today was massive in terms of keeping that third place team at arm's length. It really was. It was just such a huge game. My good friend Paul Young. When it comes to it, we have not frightened any teams. You're right. We've played or frightened any teams by how we've played, not to set down any markers. Spot on. Really good point, Paul. I've been saying it for a little while, actually. We've not thrashed anyone. We've not thrashed anyone for years, have we? Even when I was saying we put 5 past Burnley, we still conceded 2. When was the last time we thrashed someone like 6-0? I remember a 6-0 against West Brom. It was the only game I missed in the entire season. I can't remember how long ago that was. Probably the early noughties. But yeah, I can't remember the last time we absolutely put someone to the sword. And we're the blooming Blades, for blinking sake. It's still a family channel, even though it's getting late. I think you're onto something there, Hal, with more being better. Yeah, away from home. Thank you, Simon. It's very, very rare that I say anything that people agree with. Hal, can the Sheff United way avoid going live at the same time as Blades Ramble as the last 2 times both podcasts have clashed? Michael, we've been doing this for over 5 years. Let me just put it slightly differently. Can the Blades Ramble avoid going live at the same time as us? I'm always surprised by how few goals we score from set pieces. Yeah, I mean, we've got so much height and physicality. Absolutely right. And I thought that when we signed Suter, as I mentioned earlier, that would be something we'd see a lot more of. Certainly is in Football Manager. Wilder bought Brewster, so why trust him again with big money, says Paul. Sometimes managers recognise and learn from. Also, Rhian Brewster at the time was a hot property and had done really well in the Liverpool youth setup, had scored a goal every other game for Swansea. And I think a lot of people would have thought that was a sensible buy. Okay, now it would be lazy of me to say he'd been injured, so that's why he's not been good, because he wasn't good before those injuries. I remember the first time I saw Rhian Brewster, I was watching a game, I think it was Fulham at home with my young nephew, and I said, this guy's going to score loads of goals. And I was so confident that he would. I remember my nephew turning to me after the game, was like, and he just said he was rubbish. And I was like, well, give him a chance, give him time. And there's some games where Brewster's looked really good. Wolves away last season. Okay, he didn't score, but he looked really good. And he did everything you would want for a striker being given a very, very difficult task. And I do believe there is a player there. I really do. And like I say, he's going to have to show it for the rest of the season. Otherwise, it is going to be goodbye, Rhian. And we will probably, unfortunately, not remember Rhian Brewster in red and white too fondly. Need a player who can make those runs, who doesn't hang about. But I think Keefer's been playing the way Keefer's been playing all his career. And it's only really now that he's being asked to do this kind of job. That second goal was as much a FIFA goal as you'll ever see. I never played FIFA. I was a PES man, and I stopped playing games. Scott Parker had Burnley in training. Look it up. You have to Google on your phone. Right. What on earth are you talking? Who is this guy? It's very strange. You have no idea what Sheffield United were doing. United were training too, you fool. There you go, Michael. Let's just, right. Why are we even entertaining this? Let's just I don't want to read any more of his comments. The defeat today has been on the cards. Yes, and not because of who was training yesterday. January can't come soon enough to strengthen the squad. And even then, the mentality has to be turned around. It's not FFP. It's non-payment on transfer. Absolutely, Jimmy. Yes, absolutely right. Which the EFL paid. We agreed points deduction instead of a transfer embargo. That is true. Good facts. Well presented. Was Oxford a thrashing? I'm talking huge numbers here. I mean, on paper, we should have really, because we had so many chances, put maybe 6 past them. But we didn't. And that's what I'm asking. Last time we put... I don't know. We will take first today, lads. Thanks a mil, says MW. Derby 1, West Brom 0. Latest score. As it happened. If you're watching this later, it won't be. Brewster was a sensible signing at the time. Need a crystal ball to have seen this happening. Suspect we'll let him go. And we'll go on to have a good career. Yeah, he probably will go on to have a good career. But it sadly doesn't look like it's going to be with United. I wish the lad well. We've had a chance of speaking to Rhian offline, and he's been great, been very supportive of the Sheff United way. Did a little video for us, though. I mean, we weren't with him, but he just recorded something for us, which was very nice of him. Didn't need to do that. Scott says we need pace, someone who can get in behind our front four, very slow on the break. I mean, Tyrese Campbell, when he's not, and I am always worried about this, when he's not grabbing his hamstring, has got that pace. It is what it is. We move on to West Brom. Knew it was coming. Well, why didn't you say something? Why did you keep it to yourself? I wouldn't have agreed to do this match reaction if you'd told it. Right. I tried to move Brewster on in January. Honestly, Paul, I don't think you can. I think someone might take a punt on him if we didn't demand a huge fee. Have you any idea what kind of wages he's on? Because I don't know, but I would imagine we're not offering him a new contract anyway. We're probably not. I'd imagine he's on some pretty high wages. Think when we signed him, the height of our financial power. We don't thrash. We just hope we don't crash. Oh, could that be our new, rather than Sheff United, a family club? Maybe that could be our... No one ever says that anyway anymore. Does anyone even know what I'm talking about? Trafford was causing loads of grief to the cop. Well, yes, he was, but that's sort of irrelevant. My comment was my first comment. There is another Michael in the comments. Gosh, there's a few Michaels knocking about. Let's get some surnames in on the action. Help us all out. Last time we thrashed a team, beat promoted Fulham 4-0 under Hecky. I'm not counting 4-0. I'm saying 6. I want 6. I want you to 5 or 6. I want you to tell me that. I do remember that Fulham one. That was brilliant. I remember we put 4 past Cardiff. I think that was 4-1. Yeah, hard to remember. I'm not great with. I am good with scores, but not recent scores. If you want to get me on stuff like that, you have to go way back. If you want to support us, please do. We do have a Patreon. It is actually because you might sit there and think to yourself, God, these guys do so much great work and pretty much something every single day. why can't I help them? Well, you can now. You can do it in one of two ways. One, you don't have to give us anything, of course not. But if you're feeling particularly generous, we do have a Patreon. You do get videos before anyone else. But the main thing I think you get, and I think it's a lot of fun, is we have a chat. We have a WhatsApp group chat all the way through games. We're sharing thoughts. At the moment, we've got all our patrons making a video for us. You can be part of that. And we just have a bit of fun. So if you'd like to support us on that, it would be absolutely fantastic. You've all been fantastic. Not an easy one. Thank you for watching or listening. Up the blades. Until next time.
Ollie, ollie, ollie.